Magandang gabi sa inyo. This is Marsolo once again. Ang nagbabalik na si Marsolo at pagpasinsahan nyo na po dahil ngayon lamang po tayo nakapag-upload. Syempre wala tayong net, kailangan natin na makinet. Pero wag na nating isipin yung mga ganong problema dahil napakadaling gawan ng paraan yung mga ganong problema. So ito, sa aking pagbabalik ay magtatalakay tayo ng napaka-importanting bagay na nangyayari sa ating gobyerno ngayon, talamak ang kidnapan, talamak ang holdapan, talamak ang patayan. So, yan po sa gobyernong Marcos. Ayan po. Pero hindi ko sinasabing magandang nakaraan pero mas safe ako doon sa nakaraang gobyerno kaysa sa ngayon na hindi ko alam kung saan ako dadaan. Okay, ito, talakayin natin ito, usaping budget. Related naman to sa politika, related ito sa gobyerno ngayon, usaping budget, which is ang damay dito is ang yung Philhealth. Bakit naging zero subsidy? Gayon, napakaraming utang ng Philhealth pero hindi binayaran, bagkus ay ginamit pa ito sa kabilang mga program ng hindi naman related sa pangkalusugan. So, yun po ang topic natin sa nakaraang oral argument ng Associate Justice with SOLGEN natin na si Guevara, si Minardo Guevara. Tinanong siya ng Associate Justice, nasaan ang pera? Pero wag na natin pakinggan ang sagot ng SOLGEN dahil pinagluloko lang po tayo niyan. Nililito lang ang taong bayan na kung ano-anong sinasabi, kaya tinanggal ko yung kanyang sagot. Pero ito yung tumatak sa isipan at napaganito talaga ako. Ayan, buti nga sa inyo, hinahanap na yung kaya pinili ko yung mga katanungan na napaka-importante, katanungan na dapat itanong ng mamamayan sa gobyerno. Buti na lang at nagkaroon ng petisyon against government, against Philhealth. Bakit zero subsidy at nawala ang budget? At bakit ginamit sa ibang program na hindi naman related sa pangkalusugan, ngayong maraming utang ang Philhealth? Yun po ang ating tatalakayin, ating iparirinig sa inyo yung mga tawag nito, yung mga katanungan ng Associate Justice sa Supreme Court. Ayan, nangyayari na ang itinakda. So ito, pakinggan po natin, hindi ko na talaga sinali yung mga sagot dahil malilito lang tayo eh. Pero napakaganda ho ng topic niya ito sa yung nangyaring oral argument ng Supreme Court with SOLGEN Minardo Guevara. Pakinggan po natin,
Mr. Solicitor General, please.
Good afternoon, Your Honors.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Solicitor General. Mr. Solicitor General, can you please refer to the provision in the law, UHCA law, regarding which reads, no portion of the reserve fund or income thereof shall accrue to the general fund of the national government or any of its agencies or instrumentalities, including government-owned or controlled corporation.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Is this the first time last year? Was it the first time that GOCCs or any government agency for that matter were required to review and reduce their respective reserve funds for the purpose of producing funds to be transferred to the National Treasury?
As far as I know, this is the first time, Your Honor.
All right. The Philhealth was able to reduce its reserve funds for these 3 years, and it is those funds that the Philhealth transferred to the Bureau of Treasury.
No, Your Honor. They computed the reasonable amount of reserves based on actual disbursements for the past 3 years. And the remainder is the one that was used as basis for determining the amount to be remitted back to the National
So
Treasury.
do you mean to say, Mr. Solicitor General, that for 2021, there was an excess reserve funds?
Well, I would say that, excess of reserve funds in relation to what, Your Honor?
Reserve funds are specifically earmarked to answer or cover payments
Yes,
of
Your
the
Honor.
claims of beneficiaries. And if there is an excess, to fund programs that will ultimately reduce the financial responsibilities of the beneficiaries. And third, if there's still excess in the excess, to invest the same. So, Mr. Solicitor General, in 2021, was there excess reserve funds?
That reserve fund is determined by the actuarial computation.
Yes, Mr. Solicitor General, I have no quarrel with that. My point is, was there excess funds in 2021 coming from the reserve funds of Philhealth?
Yes, the answer to that question is yes, Your Honor.
Philhealth, what to do with the excess funds?
Exactly, Your Honor.
Doesn't it? Yes?
No, Your Honor, there is no violation. Because that responsibility on the part of Philhealth to make use of any excess over the reserve fund for the twin purposes of increasing benefit packages and reducing the contributions from the members is something that can be implemented within the period of 10 years. It's not something that has to be implemented immediately. So in other words, even if we have that special provision 1D, it does not mean that the obligations of Philhealth to spend the excess over its reserve fund has been abandoned, because that is something that can be complied with at some future time. It's
At some future time.
It's a 10-year period of implementation, Your
and
Honor.
this is the sixth year.
Yes, Your Honor.
So you have not started with the programs yet, because according to you, the excess funds may be devoted for other purposes. Because anyway, the timeline is 10 years.
No, Your Honor, there is no inconsistency, because as we speak, Philhealth has been increasing its benefit packages even before Special Provision 1D came into effect. And more so, after that provision, special provision, was enacted as part of the unprogrammed appropriations.
Yes, Mr.
We have seen a
Solicitor
slew of benefit increases over the past several months, Your Honor.
Several months, not only. Several months only.
But
when Philhealth is required to do it from the time it has been created under UHCA.
That is very true, Your Honor.
Yes.
But this is a matter which is reserved to the Board of Directors of Philhealth.
Yes.
This is a management
A
thing.
management and a business judgment. But then, the judgment of Philhealth to disburse its funds is limited by Section 11. That reserve funds, as it is named, is reserved and cannot be subject to the discretion of Philhealth to be used for another purpose.
We are referring, Your Honor, to the excess over the reserve fund.
Yes, but the excess is also subject to the provision of Section 11. And Section 11 mentions the purposes for which this excess should have been used.
Yes, Your Honor.
My reading is this. This is self-executing. And it is Philhealth that must execute it because the law is in place already. All right. When funding unprogrammed appropriations, how does Congress determine where to get the funds and which appropriations to realign?
Your Honor, under Special Provision 1D, there are various sources of funds, such as excess of revenue collections over the targets, or new revenues, whether these are tax or non-tax. There are foreign loans approved, which might also go into the pool. And finally, this new additional source.
And excess reserve funds.
Excess...
Reserve funds.
No, it's called
As a result,
fund balance.
Yes,
Your Honor.
as a result of the review and reduction scheme.
To reasonable levels
Yeah.
of
To
their
reasonable level
reserve funds.
is discretionary. It has no fixed standard. All right.
There are
So-
guidelines, Your Honor, set by the Department
Yes.
of Finance.
According to the DOF, the funds to be remitted to the National Treasury will finance urgent national projects. The OSG enumerated some of these projects, including routine maintenance of national roads, the Panay-Guimaras-Negros Island Bridges, or the PGN Bridges project, and payment of right-of-way. These are all construction projects, Mr. Solicitor General, correct?
Not all of them, Your Honor. Not all of them, Your Honor.
All
Some
right.
of them pertain to health.
I'm talking about the routine maintenance of national roads, the PGN Bridges project, and payment of right-of-way, correct?
In a sense,
Checks of the government, correct?
infrastructure.
Yes. You can call it that, infrastructure projects, all right. With respect to the PGN Bridges project, per DBM's budget of expenditures and source of financing, FY 2024 report, the PGN Bridges project appears to be fully funded. Is there an urgency to transfer the Philhealth funds when the project is already fully funded?
Your Honor, this is a matter really of delving into the wisdom of the legislature in allocating funds.
Yes.
So while
funding a project that is already fully funded under the category of unprogrammed funds
I didn't quite get the
Programs.
question,
Yes.
Your Honor. Pardon me.
of Korea has loaned the Philippines 174.49 billion plus. Is there an urgency to transfer the Philhealth funds when the project is already fully funded?
Your Honor, I think one consideration by the Congress in doing so is a determination of when a project is already implementable. So if a project that has already been identified and sufficiently funded is considered to be non-implementable for the given fiscal year, then I think it is the decision of the Congress in the exercise of its policy or wisdom, so to speak, to move it to the unprogrammed appropriations in the meantime.
Yes, all right. So, has the government moved this amount to the unprogrammed funds of the government?
There are so...
This
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Export-Import Bank of Korea loan, has the government moved it to unprogrammed funds?
We will have to check on
Yes,
that. Whether
please check on that.
Yes, whether that has been actually transferred only or removed altogether.
Yes.
Because there were certain removals made by the Congress in the proposed infrastructure or other projects
How
of the
can
government.
the government have removed this when it is a loan specifically for that purpose?
It is something that can be deferred, Your Honor, even
Yes,
if it's
what
funded.
is the reason for deferring it?
Your Honor, I cannot speculate on the
Correct.
reasons of the
I go
congressman.
now, yes, to my next question. Has the government spent even a single centavo from that loan, considering that the project has not even started?
Well, there is nothing to spend for if the project has not even started, Your
So
Honor.
where is the money?
The money went presumably to the National Treasury for the purpose of using it for projects and programs under the unprogrammed
So we
appropriations.
have unused funds for the project, and yet we still got money from Philhealth to supplement this fund that has been unused for years.
Not automatically, Your Honor, because even if the funds, even if the sources of funds under special provision, number one, of the unprogrammed appropriations is already there and is ready to be used for the projects under the unprogrammed appropriations, it is still a question of whether the implementing agency is ready to implement that project. So if the implementing agency does not think that it can implement such a project within the given year, then it will not ask for any allocation under the
Yes.
unprogrammed appropriations.
Yes, but aside from the foreign funding from Korea for this project, in 2022, there was additional funding from the GAA for this project in the amount of 50 million in 2022. In 2023, another 57 million. This is over and above the Korea Export-Import Bank of Korea loan. Where did this money go when the project has not even started? And based on the special allotment release order, the use of funds for the PGN Bridge project is released on a quarterly basis, showing that the payment of funds is done in phases. More, based on the press release of the local government of Iloilo on the project timeline, the construction period for Section A, which is the 13-kilometer Panay-Guimaras project, is from a third quarter of 2025 up to the fourth quarter of 2028. Given these premises, what is the urgency of remitting the subject funds if the construction of the PG and Bridges project has already been funded and has yet to start in 2025?
Your Honor, the urgency is on the use of these available funds for all the projects listed under the unprogrammed appropriations. There are so many of them. I think 57 different
Yes,
purposes.
and it's one of them. And it's one of them. And it shows that it has had multiple fundings. All right. On maintenance of national roads, which national roads are we referring to?
Your Honor, we can refer to the SARO released by the Department of Budget and Management to determine which particular projects had already availed themselves of funding from the provisions of special
So there are no
provision.
specific national roads that are covered by the unprogrammed funds. In the 2024 GAA, there is already an appropriation for the maintenance of national roads under its special road fund of 15 million, 1.6 billion under maintenance, repair, and rehabilitation of infrastructure facilities and other related activities, routing maintenance of national roads, and 463 million under maintenance, repair, and rehabilitation of infrastructure facilities and other related activities, routing maintenance of national bridges, all under the DPWH budget. More, per DPWH Department Order Number 32 Series of 2020, the road fund shall be remitted to the National Treasury and earmarked for the construction, upgrading, repair, and rehabilitation of roads, bridges, and road drainage. Perhaps each one of us pays the road tax each time we renew our licenses or we register our cars. Considering all these fundings, why is there a need to get additional funds from Philhealth for the same road maintenance under the category of unprogrammed appropriations?
Your Honor, as I have explained earlier, during the deliberations of the budget, on the budget by the Congress, they determine whether some or a few or several of the projects identified by the proponent.
Pakinggan po natin yung oral argument ng Associate Justice dyan sa Supreme Court with Minardo Guevara as SOLGEN natin. Nasaan ang pera? Where is the money? Yun po yung matinding tumatak sa isipan ko, yung katanungan gano'n eh. Ngayon, yung kasagutan naman ng ating SOLGEN, hindi ko na pinakinggan. Nililito lang tayo, taong bayan. Philhealth, isang ahensya na napaka-importante para sa kalusugan ng mga mamayang Pilipino. Kawawa po dito dahil yung budget na para dapat sa pangkalusugan is na-allocate dun sa mga infrastructure, maintenance ng tulay, mga kalsada, which is funded naman daw ito. Funded talaga. As in, funded. Ibig sabihin, may budget na po yan. So, anong gustong palabasin ng gobyernong ito? Bakit ganon? Tila bang nagkakaroon ng, alam mo na, wag na natin, bahala sila. Basta tayo, magmatsyag na lang ho. Basta sa sunod na election ho, pag-isipan po natin mga kababayan, pag-isipan po natin kung sino dapat ang iboboto natin. Alam mo, ito kasi magandang idea dyan yung mga re-elect 1, 2, 3 na re-elect na siya, pang-una, pangalawa, pangatlo. Pero same problem pa rin yung hinaharap natin pag nai-elect sila. Ibig sabihin, pag na-elect talaga sila, yung problema na ganon, pag na-elect sila, the same problem pa rin ang ibibigay nila sa atin. Na wala namang ginawa. Ganon. Bakit hindi tayo pumili na bago? Yung itong PDP laban, straight. Siguro siyam lang sila dito. Dagdagan pa natin ng 3. Yung makakatulong naman sa taong bayan yung may isang senador doon na animal advocate, isali natin, malay natin, magbago yung pananaw nila sa mga hayop. Yun po, importante po kasi marami ako alagang hayop Kaya iboboto ko po talaga yun. Yan po. Maraming salamat dahil ito, nagbabalik pa rin tayo. Patuloy pa rin po tayo sa ganitong usapin. Sa mga nag-subscribe po, maraming salamat. Sa mga nunod ng in-upload kong video, marami pong salamat. Sana po, paabutin po natin ng kahit 1,000 po yung subscriber, dahil pag nagkataon, kahit hindi ako ma-monetize, basta nag 1,000 ang aking subscriber, magpapakain po tayo sa mga stray dog. Okay, stray cat, stray dog, yun naman po talaga ang mission kung bakit ako gumagawa ng ganito. Maraming salamat. Walang sawang nagpapasalamat si Marsolo sa inyo. Pero magpapatuloy pa rin tayo sa usaping politika, sa usaping ito nga. Kayo na ho, bahala. Mag-isip. Basta pag-isipan nyo sa darating na eleksyon, pag-isipan nyo po kung sino iboboto nyo. Pag the same politiko ang binoto nyo, na nakaraang administration na walang nagawa, what more kung na-elect na naman sila, the same problem pa rin ang ating kaharapin. Yun po, muli, si Marsolo, once again, nagbabalik. Kaya kung hindi ka pa nakapag-subscribe, please subscribe at share mo na rin ang video na ito. Maraming salamat. Ito si Marsolo, nag-iiwan ng baboons!